Okay. What's up, YouTube? This is Dark Spartan. Finally doing my Star Wars: The Force Awakens video. Sorry it took so long. It's just been really busy lately. The way I'm going to do this video is that first I am going to give my review, and this is going to be a spoiler review. Uh, so just to forewarn you right there. First, I'm going to be giving my spoilers-filled review, my spoiler review of the film itself, what I thought of it, and some speculations of what I think could happen to Episode 8. And then after that, I will be giving my review of the novelization, Force Awakens, and I'll be talking about some of the scenes that were different. Um, yeah, so let's get into it. First off, uh, I loved the movie. Actually, the more I've seen of it, I've seen it like 6 or 7 times now. The more I've seen of it, the more I've loved it. And in fact, it's actually now gone to the point where it is now my favorite Star Wars movie. It has supplanted, for me, it has supplanted Empire Strikes Back. I know a lot of the complaints people have been it recycles A New Hope and this and that. You had another Death Star type weapon. Honestly, I think they needed to do that to set up this new trilogy. They needed to follow a lot of the same, not story points, but the same kind of story structure that the original had. And um, George Lucas himself has always said this was more like the way the story plays out is more like a poem where each stanza rhymes with the previous one before it. So, and they've really kept true to the they've really kept true to that mantra with Force Awakens. I'm sorry. I loved J.J. Abrams' direction in it. The performances I thought were great, particularly the performance of Daisy Ridley as Rey. She was really a standout in my opinion. As someone who has studied acting and studied film, I could really see the nuances of her performance. Same thing with John Boyega. I just thought Daisy Ridley stood out just a little bit more. Oscar Isaacs, I've always been a big fan of his. I thought he was great as Poe Dameron. He was cocky, even though he wasn't in the film as much as I hoped he would be. I just loved his portrayal of the character. One of my biggest complaints is the same as everybody else, is that they really underused Captain Phasma. We're getting someone like Gwendolyn Christie, who I'm a big fan of from Game of Thrones. I really thought they would have used her better. It's going to be interesting to see how they use her in Episode 8, because it has been confirmed that she is coming back. I loved Kylo Ren. He is now one of my favorite villains in the entire Star Wars universe. I know some people have complained about him being kind of bratty, with the temper tantrums he would throw in the. But I think that goes to show that even though he is trying to be like Darth Vader, he is not there yet, because he does not know how to control his emotions in the way that Vader did later on. And I honestly thought the way Adam Driver portrayed him was honestly the way I had hoped that Anakin would have been portrayed in the prequels. Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see where his character goes. And so again, I thought the character performances were great. I thought J.J. Abrams' direction was great. Visually, the movie was stunning. The use of practical effects really helped bring you into that world. I do agree with Christian Harloff and a lot of people who complained about the whole Rathar sequence. Did look a little cheesy. Yeah, like visually, it really didn't fit with the aesthetic of the movie as much as I hoped it would. Um, maybe they could have done that a little bit better. Maybe they could have touched the effects a little bit more. If they were going to, the CG effects a little bit more. They might have been able to do it practically. I don't know how that would have worked. But that's just one minor gripe. Now we're going to get into the whole spoiler aspect of the movie, of stuff that happened, and I loved the way they handled Han Solo's death. Even though I saw it coming, I knew it was coming. I had suspected for months that we were going to see Han Solo die in this film. I loved the way they handled it. I loved seeing that interaction of him trying to help his son, and the reveal that Kylo Ren was Ben Solo, was Han and Leia's son. I loved this. It's just seeing Han try to pull his son back to the light side. And again, the performances in that sequence between Harrison Ford and Adam Driver were just great. With Adam Driver, you could really see him struggling with between the light and the dark. I do think that the scene would have been a little more impactful had they added the deleted scene that we're going to see in the Blu-ray of Kylo Ren entering the Millennium Falcon and having some kind of, and reminiscing about maybe what his previous life was like. The whole thing with Rey being a Force user, a lot of people seem to have problems with it, that she was able to do advanced Force techniques, such as the Jedi, as the mind trick and other stuff. I just think that shows that she had been previously trained. I truly believe that she had been previously trained by Luke at his Jedi Academy, and that when the whole massacre of the Jedi went down, either he or somebody else who was a Force user wiped her mind. And it's more like reflex now. It's more like muscle memory. Much like where in a movie like The Bourne Identity, you had Jason Bourne, who had no memory of what he was or anything like that, but he could remember his training. He could subconsciously remember his training. I think it's something similar to that, to where she doesn't remember ever being trained, but it comes through almost like a muscle memory. And the same thing with her being able to pull Luke's lightsaber, which I will get into in a minute when I go into my speculations about what's going to happen in Episode 8. I loved the final battle between her and Kylo Ren. A lot of people, I know some people have said that they didn't like it because it wasn't as fancy as the ones in the prequels. It was a little sloppy. I actually like it that way because it's, again, this is years after Jedi had been properly trained, and Luke, who was not properly trained in lightsaber combat, would have taught them similarly in the way he had learned, which was to use almost like hacking motions with the lightsaber to fight and stuff like that, instead of being with all this flourish and stuff that you saw in the prequels. So those are my positives and negatives on the movie. Like I said, the negatives were really small. Captain Phasma could have been done a little bit better. The whole thing with the whole sequence with the Rathdars could have been polished a little bit more. And if you would have added just that one little scene of Kylo Ren and the Millennium Falcon, I think it would have given a little more weight to Kylo killing his father. Now, as far as my speculations go into what might happen in Episode 8 or even Episode 9 for that matter, I do believe that Rey is Luke's daughter. I just think that there are too many things pointing in that direction. One in particular was in an interview that Mark Hamill had given. I don't remember to who. He had basically said that Luke Skywalker has almost become like the King Arthur of this universe, and if he's saying that, then that means that they're kind of turning what was Anakin and Luke's old lightsaber into Excalibur, which means that it can only be wielded by the one true heir of that person. And the fact that it called to Rey during that sequence in Maz Kanata's castle. And I will talk more about the Force Awakens when I get into my review of the book, because I want to do a little comparison between the two. But the fact that it called to her in Maz Kanata's castle, causing that Force vision, and the fact that she was able to, that it responded more to her call than Kylo Ren's when it flew past him and into her hand. It really implies to me that she is Luke's daughter. Only because they were talking about the King Arthur aspect of the story. Sorry, my cats are fighting. As far as Episode 8 goes, other speculations for Episode 8, I think we're going to see. I hope we see a partnership between Finn and Poe. I would love to see them go on certain adventures together. Maybe being chased down by Captain Phasma. Because they really need to do something to redeem her character. Maybe have her chasing them down. I do agree that with Episode 7, I do agree with a lot of people that her character would have been much more impactful if she was the one on that battlefield on Takadana who yelled traitor to Finn and was fighting him with the baton. I think that would have been and ended up getting away. I think that would have been a lot more impactful. So I would like to see them team up, some more. I think as far as what Chewie goes, I think he is either going to stay with Rey or he is going to be helping Leia out. And another thing, as far as Episode 7, sorry, I'm getting a little scatterbrained here. I do think J.J. Abrams missed that, and he's admitted to this, that he missed the moment, at the end with Chewbacca walking by Leia after Han's death and not acknowledging her or anything like that, just walking off. And that maybe he should have had a moment in there between the two of them. But I can understand why he did it, because he wanted to get to that moment between Leia and Rey. And again, as far as Rey being Luke's daughter, I think that he could have been able to have a daughter and not have Leia know about it. That maybe he kept it a secret from her for her own protection, or something like that. We'll see. We'll see once Episode 8 comes out. As far as other stuff goes, what I hope to see in Episode 8, I hope we get to see some training between Rey and Luke. I really want to see how badass Luke is. Not only at using the Force, but with the lightsaber and stuff like that. Because George Lucas had said many times that Luke ends up becoming the most powerful Jedi ever, even more powerful than Yoda. So I really would like to see just how powerful he has become, and and see how he's going to train Rey. And I'd also like to see him go a little bit more into what happened with that Jedi massacre. Maybe not full on show how Ben fell to the dark side and became Kylo Ren, but maybe kind of gloss over it. As part of him training Rey, much like how Yoda did with Luke. I want to see new worlds. I think we are going to get that from some of the set photos we've seen. And really, that's really all I have to say about the movie. Now, to get into my review of the book, I love the book. I think it really adds to the movie, especially when you read about the scenes that are in here that are not in the movie, such as Kylo Ren walking onto the Millennium Falcon and feeling feeling the presence of his father, and reminiscing about when he was younger and stuff like that, because it is in the book. The opening in the book is completely different from what's in the movie, because the way the book opens, it actually talks about how Leia is trying to get the New Republic behind to understand what is going on with the Resistance and how important it is to find her brother. There is some other stuff in here. There is some other stuff that happens in Maz Kanata's castle, particularly with Chewie and Unkar Platt. It's not really any. I mean, really, the biggest difference to me is the Kylo Ren and the Millennium Falcon stuff, and Rey's Force Vision, because it is kind of similar to the way it is in the film, other than the fact that I think that one of the differences is in the book she actually sees the fight between Vader and Luke, where Vader cut off Luke's hand, and I don't remember if you saw that in the movie. I just don't remember. Another thing is, I'm really curious about this, because the whole thing with canon is that there is a little phrase at the beginning. It's almost like a preface of the. Well, first of all, another one of the cool things about the book is that it actually. I don't know if you can see it. Sorry. It actually has the opening crawl from the movie. But there's another phrase on the page right before it that actually comes from the Journal of the Wills. Now, if anybody doesn't know what the Journal of the Wills is, it is basically kind of almost like a backstory of how the Force started, and how Force users came about and stuff like that. How people started studying the Force. And as you can see, it's right there. And basically what it says is, first comes the day, then comes the night. After the darkness shines through the light. The difference, they say, is only made right by the resolving of gray through refined Jedi sight. And that's, again, from Journal of the Wills, chapter 7, I believe it's chapter 7, section 477, so or verse 477. So I'm wondering, because this is in here, does that make Journal of the Whills canon? Um, does that make it canon? I certainly hope it does, because then that means we might be getting into more Old Republic stuff. Sorry, throat's a little, excuse me, throat's a little dry right now. But and as far as my thoughts on Supreme Leader Snoke, I honestly don't know. I was one of those people who thought that Snoke was Darth Plagueis. I was kind of hoping it was Darth Plagueis, because I think it would have been cool to tie that in. But I honestly don't think so anymore. I just I don't know who Snoke could really be, or what his connection is with the old Empire, because in the book, uh, Snoke tells Kylo Ren that he saw the rise and fall of the Empire. And another thing that is explained more in the book is the character of Lor San Tekka. Lor San Tekka, if you remember, was the character that Max von Sydow played at the beginning of the movie. And basically, it goes a little bit more into his backstory, how he was a member of the Church of the Force, which is a group of people who were not Force users, but they believed in the Force and they believed in the Jedi. And it goes a little bit more into that in this. So, but yeah, that's my review on Star Wars: The Force Awakens, both the book and the movie. Hope you liked it. I will be doing the final half of my book collection video. I also will be doing a small little book wrap up and TBR video / book haul, because I've gotten some new books in the last couple of days. I got some new books yesterday, actually, and I'll be doing that soon. So I will see you guys next time.